This is Mobile Agent TV, helping agents stay on the cutting edge from coast to coast.
Welcome to Mobile Agent TV. I am Michael Thorne of Remax Little Oak Realty in Langley, BC, and my co-host, as always, is Dave Falkaware from Bridgewater, New Jersey's Remax Preferred Professionals and the Enviro Realty team. Dave, why is it that you can consistently take really good care of yourself?
Why is it?
Yeah, why do you take really good care of yourself?
Because I want to see what's coming next, man.
And you say that on the show all the time. And
I want to see what's happening next. I'm gonna if I only live to like 80 or something, I'm gonna miss a whole bunch of cool stuff. You know, so the world's changing so fast. I want to go down the street in a rocket car and maybe go pay a visit to the moon or something, just as a daily. We're going on Friday night. We're going to the moon, and you know what? It's gonna happen.
Stick around. That might very well happen. And the reason why I wanted to ask you that question was because that's sort of what we're going to talk about a little bit on today's show. You know, you talk about the cool things that are happening. We're going to talk about something, an opportunity, and a direction of marketing that our industry is definitely going in that didn't exist 2 years ago. And it is going to continue to evolve and continue to change and continue to offer us amazing opportunities. And we're going to get into all of that definitely today on today's show. But I do want to talk about, Dave, you can interact with us live on mobile, on Twitter using the hashtag MATVLive. I'll keep my eye on that throughout the show. I jumped on Periscope just before the show. I know, Dave, you jumped on real quick. And we had a couple of Matterport users saying, you know, we just started using it, so I'm encouraging them to ask some questions when we get on the show, as well as I'm going to enable the Q&A feature right now. So if you are logged into Google, you can ask us questions. You can vote up the questions, vote them down, and we'll get them asked of today's guest. Now, we're still waiting for Kyle Cutcliffe to come to the show. I don't know where he's at, but I'm sure he's busy, but he will pop in when we get a chance. Dave, you put out a video the other day, which to me, in the way that we market ourselves and what we do, is the perfect example of social media. It is the definition of social media. So just talk about, because I think it's a really good example of not only creating the video, but creating the cause that gave you the content to then create the video and to share that out. So talk about the video that you put out and the cause behind it.
Well, for 4 years ago, we decided to do client appreciation things, and it was around Thanksgiving, so we decided, you know, well, let's go and give pies to all our really special clients and people who refer business to us. We have 110 people on that list. So we just wanted to kind of connect it with something to go back the other way and not just focus on giving away pies, so we connected it to a food bank drive. We give you a pie, you give us food for the food bank. And it started out small, and as it all turns out now after 4 years, it's getting to be, it's taking on a life of its own. All right, everybody's starting to look forward to this. They save up the food, you know, or they buy food in anticipation of us coming around. And this year we collected twice as what we did last year. We filled up my garage. We filled up a couple of trucks that took it all the way to the food bank. And it's become a very, we use Facebook to connect with our clients and interact with them throughout the year. And they look forward to this. And it's taken, and social media has helped us tremendously because throughout the year, you know, we're interacting with it. Gets close to Thanksgiving. You know, hey, when are the pies coming? And it's just now, because you know, everybody knows my opinion of social media. You have to ultimately, my ultimate goal with social media is to get belly to belly, and y'all want to connect with those people person to person, if I can, if it's possible. And that's the ultimate goal. Without that, social media to me is a big waste of your time. You know, to connect with somebody, connect with them, and you never meet them, you never have any interaction with them. That's the golden, that's the special sauce.
Yeah, and so you did a little bit of a video, you put it out there, you obviously used some GoPro and a little bit of a gimbal, and it's great. Where can some of our viewers, if they want to see that video, where can they find it?
Well, it's on an Enviro Realty Team Facebook page, or it's on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel, Enviro Realty Team. Just put in YouTube Enviro Realty Team, and they can see it. Or shoot me an email. I'll send it to you. And we could even post it up here if you like. It's actually out here in Remax Play.
We can put it on the thing and put it out on Remax Play. I'm just sending out tweets where people can't find. They're desperate to see this episode with Matterport. I'm just sending out tweets. So, but Kyle Cutcliffe is on the show. Can you hear me, Kyle?
There he is.
Yes.
Good. So I won't introduce Kyle yet because we haven't even introduced today's main guest yet. But let me tell you something about BombBomb, as I'm legally obligated to mention BombBomb every episode. It's in our contract, Dave. That I did see a notification in the top right-hand corner of my Mac screen saying Kyle Cutcliffe have opened up your email show link about 30 seconds, about a minute ago, and then I knew that he had it, and just it's always nice to know when people open up your emails and you can track it, and it's all great. So let's jump into today's show about immersive real estate marketing. Want to introduce today's guests. We have Jeff Harris from Matterport, and as always, we read out our guest's 160 Twitter bio. You can get Jeff on Twitter at Jeff JEFF Harris, and his 160 Twitter bio reads: VP Enterprise Sales for Matterport, 3D for the real world, lover of barbecue, Chicago blues, and espresso. Sounds like my type of guy. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Great. Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me.
And also like to introduce Kyle Cutcliffe. You can get him on Twitter at Kyle Cutcliffe. That's CUTCLIFFE. And we've read out his 160 Twitter bio before on the show, but it's basically, I'm a Remax agent. Welcome back to the show, Kyle.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And one of the reasons why we wanted to have Jeff on the show is obviously to dig into immersive real estate marketing, dig into the opportunity that Matterport presents. But we have learned, Dave, over this show the last 3 years, this is now episode number 97, that when we hear it from an agent actually implementing it, I think it puts a lot of agents out in the field sort of more at ease than just hearing it from someone who's inside the world of the particular company or the software, the technology. So we want to have Kyle come on because Kyle, apparently, you've had your camera now for about a year now, Kyle?
Yeah, probably like 9 months or something like that.
Okay.
6 months, 9 months.
Perfect. Now, Jeff, for people, before we actually jump into the technology and talk about the technology, I want to start off the conversation talking about culture and client experience and all that sort of stuff. But for those who are just joining us on the show and aren't really familiar of what Matterport is or what it does, give us that elevator pitch about what the technology of Matterport actually is.
Sure. So Matterport's a Silicon Valley company that's kind of revolutionizing the way real estate gets marketed. We invented a camera that captures spaces in 3D that lets others experience them as if they were there.
And it's so much more. And if you haven't seen it, and if you're listening to this on replay on YouTube or you're listening to the podcast, pull over the car, press stop on the YouTube video, go to Matterport.com, press play. Take a quick look at it because I think the rest of the conversation makes a lot more sense. But it's not a 360 tour. It's not those typical immersive experience. It's very, very different. And in fact, Jeff, we were talking, I don't want to get to the tech too much right now, we were talking on the phone the other day during our pre-show interview, and it's a lot more than just images. There's a lot more to it. We can get into that. But how is it very different than the typical 360 tour that has been the staple of the real estate industry for the last 10 years?
Sure. So those are panoramic photos that are stitched together, and that technology's been around since the late 90s. And that's great. That can be immersive, and that can help consumers kind of walk through space and understand it a little bit, maybe with some distortion in terms of visual distortion from a camera lens. But what Matterport does that makes it unique is that we both photograph and measure at the same time. That's what this technology does, and it allows us to do very impressive things like create a dollhouse view of a property. Literally, it looks like a dollhouse that any user can rotate, isolate floors, click in anywhere, jump back out. It provides context that really isn't available with any kind of traditional photography method, whether it's 360 or 2D.
Absolutely. So let's jump into culture first, because this is bigger than Matterport, obviously, and we talked about on the show so many times, Dave, that culture is so much bigger than any one particular technology. But what, Jeff, has changed culturally that allows Matterport to have such an impact in the way that a real estate consumer, because that's the topic we're talking about today, gets their information, and why is it something culturally that agents need to be aware of?
Sure. Well, if you kind of look at the demographics of the buying generations, right? Millennials kind of have this attitude where they want to be fully informed before they even pick up the phone and call an agent to learn about a property. And while there's been prior efforts to kind of provide context with like floor plans paired with photos, that's very helpful. But when someone can take advantage of the technology like Matterport, where you can walk through a space, look around, and it's all self-directed and immersive, which you use at the top of the show, and that's what makes it very unique. A consumer can look through the home as if they were there on their own pace, at their own time, see what they want to see, unlike a video where you have to go from the beginning to the end the way the editor wants you to see it. This is a way that consumers can fully explore that space, and then when they're interested, they'll pick up the phone and call the agent. And I think you'll see more and more consumers who are of that demographic demanding this kind of technology. They want to be better informed.
Kyle, quite often when we make big changes in our lives, the 2 or 3 reasons why we want to make the change after we've made the change differs from what if now that you've made the change you would make different things. The 4 reasons why our team left where we were and came to Remax are different than once we got here I realized the opportunities are different. Why did you say 6 months ago, 9 months ago, I think Matterport is going to add value to what we do in our real estate business? And if you were to make those same reasons why, what's different now that you've actually implemented the technology? What do you see different than what you saw the opportunity 9 months ago?
Good question. What made me get the camera is exactly what he said. It's just the technology speaks for itself. Once you see this, you can't unsee it, and I think that the consumer will be on that level too. I think that a lot of the consumers out there don't even know this exists, and as stated before, once they see it, they probably will demand it because it is that cool. It's just that you know, it gives you the best interpretation of being in a house that you could never dreamed of, outside of actually putting on the VR headset and actually feeling like you're in the house yourself, which they're doing or they have. I just haven't tried it out yet. You're there. So when I saw it, I was like, I need to be doing this. I need to, not only do I need to be doing this, but I need to be an early adopter of it, because once the consumer sees this and demands it and every realtor's doing it, you're not special anymore. If it takes you a year to pay the $4,500 to get the camera, you're just going to be another agent with the, that offers this rather than being the early adopter and the elite marketer.
Sorry, Kyle, to jump in there, and it's just something you said that really speaks to me. It's easier to pay for the $4,500 camera when you're the early adopter than to pay for the $3,000 camera potentially down the road or whatever it is when there's mass, because it's easier to get the extra business as the early adopter, right? Like you've obviously noticed that in your marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, it's not necessarily buying the $3,000 camera. It's waiting for the company, the thousands of, hundreds of companies out there that are selling this product to come in and just sell it to everyone in your industry for a price that makes sense. And so you're not even, it's just you're waiting for all the company to move in and do that. That's going to happen in every industry as it grows. It might not happen immediately. But what was the second part of that question?
Oh, the same part was, now that you've actually implemented, now that you've actually seen the reaction of the consumer, what would be the reasons to go back retroactively and buy the technology now that you've actually seen it in practice?
Yep, I love it. I think being that early adopter, you have all of your standard options that a realtor is looking at when advertising. They're going to advertise on social media. So you're putting this on Facebook, which is huge. You're showing yourself in front of everyone that you are this early adopter, that your marketing is a step above everyone else's. That's great. It's also, I find, most effective when I follow up with someone. So if someone comes to my open house or goes on a showing, I then have a follow-up email that I'll include this link. Hey, if you have any more questions or you'd like to see this property again, try clicking the link, and you're immediately in the house. That way they can show their family that might be, out of state, their husband couldn't make it, now they're actually seeing this product, and it's leading to more second showings, more interest. Someone's like, I forget what that kitchen looked like. Now they're jumping back into that kitchen. So it really puts you on the spot. I love taking it out on my phone when I'm at an open house because I do a lot of these things. So if I have a similar property nearby, I'll take out my phone and go, hey, well, look at this property that's right down the street. Or, hey, look at this property that you're in. Just look at it on my phone. Look how cool I am at marketing. It's more of a I think that the most value you're getting out of that money is the conversation piece that it starts.
Interesting.
Kyle, did I hear you right that you're taking pictures of houses that you're showing to potential buyers that may not be your listings?
I usually do it with our own either our brokerage or our team, because our team does this for like 90% of our listings. So a lot of the times we'll just have a comparable listing of our own. I don't do this for any other brokerages outside of Remax.
No, I meant you have a buyer, you got them in your car, you're riding them around, and you take them into XYZ company's listing, and maybe you take a picture or you do a little video of that kitchen while you're there to send to them later, something of that nature.
Well, you know, that's the thing is then you should be listing with Kyle Cutcliffe, right? Like that's
I hear you.
Really comes down to it. Jeff, do you think that the adoption of Matterport moving forward is a business-driven movement, or do you think it's consumer-driven? Will it be people like Kyle seeing the opportunity, or will it be buyers demanding that they have access to this type of technology?
Yeah, you're really kind of describing what's called the network effect, right? Because as more consumers see it, the demand will get higher. That'll create the business need for more real estate professionals to adopt the technology. It's almost chicken and egg, which is going to come first. The folks like Kyle who are using this in their market and creating awareness of the technology just creates more demand. People, oftentimes, brokers and agents don't like to take that first step, but they don't want to be last either. So oftentimes, if they, especially Kyle's competitors, if they're aware of what he's doing, maybe we're getting phone calls from some of his competitors. I don't know, but that typically is what happens. Once there's a first mover, it tends to create a market fairly quickly.
And on that note, I mean, Jeff, I was going to ask you before we got on the air, and I forgot to, because I don't know if this is your quote, and if it is, I want the rights to say it every single time I give a keynote. If not, I'm going to find out who has this quote. Jeff and I had a phone call the other day. You said something to me that was so, it's like, I don't know how many words it is. It's like the best 8 words put together that I've ever heard about business, and that quote was, "You can see the light or feel the heat." Now, Jeff, is that your quote, or is that something you heard somewhere?
I heard it from a guy I worked for who I really respect, and I don't know if it was his quote or not, but yeah, you may not see the light, but you'll feel the heat is something that I think is very pertinent here. If you see the light, you're like Kyle, you'll get in early, you'll start to make a name for yourself, you'll separate yourself from your competition, you'll win more listings, you'll get more buyers faster, and then the other agents are going to look around and go, maybe I should look at that Matterport thing a little bit more closely. Yeah.
And this comes back to the discussion that when I talked about, I was out in New Jersey and out in Berlin and whatnot, and Dave was there when I was talking about Matterport on stage, and the example that I was using with Matterport on stage was that of hotels used to advertise electricity. Back in the day, they would advertise electricity because that was a value add. You would never see a hotel advertise electricity today because it's an expected level of service. And eventually, immersive marketing of a property will be an expected level of service, and that will be the people that feel the heat and have to adopt. But there's no added value to your business unless you're able to see the light. And Dave, whether this is Facebook advertising, whether this is video, we've had this conversation over and over again. Lead, follow, get out of the way, thinning of the herd. We've talked about this, Dave, over and over again. What is that human nature? Is this our business, this inability to realize that you're going to eventually do something, so you might as well do it now and get the benefit of doing it, Dave? Is that human nature, or is that something that plagues our business?
I think it's our business. I see this thing as more a business-driven thing than a consumer. That's my opinion. And I think and again, I think it depends on the market. But in my market, the early adopters are going to be around before it becomes no longer early adopter. That's going to be a very long period of time here in our market. I can tell you that it's going to, because of the nature of the real estate agent. Oh my God, $4,500! You got to be kidding me! I'm getting out of the business. We would hear that a lot more here, and I don't know who in New Jersey is using this technology, but I can see where it can increase your business tremendously, and the early adopters are going to be the ones that are going to make all the money. And we talked about that before, that this getting smaller and smaller, the people that are going to be doing this. This is just one of the things, one of the tools. It's just a tool that's going to give you more business.
Now, Kyle, in your interaction with people that have interacted with the Matterport tours online, are you finding that they're the under 45 crowd versus the over 45 crowd? Is it everybody? Or where are you finding the actual people that are consuming that information and then reaching out to you afterwards?
The easy answer is that everyone likes it. Once they see it, once they understand it, they like it. Some people, it's very easy. My 6-year-old niece, I don't even have to explain it to her. I could just hand her my phone or my tablet, and she'd be able to navigate it. It just makes sense to her. Someone that's older, it doesn't make sense immediately, and they end up looking at this for a while. Once they get past that, they love it too. And this new feature that you have where you can hit play and actually go through some of the home is great. Some of the other updates that I'm sure we'll get into are also great. But another fun, interesting one in like a real-time marketing thing is I've been experimenting with Instagram ads. And I'll use Matterport because one click on the my screenshot of a dollhouse view or something else, and one click in Instagram, and all of a sudden the people are inside the house. The middle schoolers and high schoolers are going crazy over this. I get like 50 likes in a day, and when I go to look at each of the person, it's all like graduating high school in 2019. So that's a real-time example of where your business now is coming. If you're an early adopter, you're getting in, because it's everyone. It's not just those kids, but those are the people that are on Instagram right now. So even if I set an age restriction, they all lie about their age, and then they look on the bio and it says, so it's not perfect, but everyone loves this, and it's only as the consumer understands this technology more and more, it'll be everyone.
Now, I want to, Kyle, go down a quick little route with you. I mean, Raj Kazar also legally obligated to talk about him every day or every show. He does video better than anyone perhaps in our industry does video, and he has a saying that he does video on every single property for the next property as much as for that particular property. Right, like he is creating a footprint of future business by creating video. In fact, if he's halfway through filming and editing a video and the home is sold, he still finishes that video off because it's what drives the next listing. Are you finding when buyers come to your house, and 50% of the buyers out there also have a property to sell, they go, that's the agent I want, that's the marketing I want, and therefore not only is it helping sell that property, but it must be driving new business where they go, Kyle's our guy, this is what I've dreamed about marketing to be like, and so therefore I want this technology. Do you see that hhappening?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to, the early part of that question.
Just the fact that, do you see this implementing in your business as trying to sell that house or also trying to get the next listing?
Yeah, that's definitely the part I wanted to touch on. That to me, in almost every asset of what I'm doing, whether it's video or this, it almost is always that. In some cases, you're trying to. The biggest thing that this is going to help you win is like a listing presentation. If you have to compete with someone, and all of a sudden you've already done this on one of your houses, regardless of whether it's sold or it's on the market, and you actually, in your midway through your listing presentation, you can pull out your iPad or iPhone or computer and actually show them, hey, this is what I can do for your house. As long as everything else about you is average, you might walk away with that listing.
So is the quote from Kyle Cutcliffe, the tweetable, average plus Matterport equals listing?
Hey, right now, yeah. Wait 6 months to a year, maybe not.
Exactly. Jeff, talk about that. What is it? A couple things I want to talk about. What Dave said. about certain marketplaces, I would imagine with a younger demographic, younger agent, you're seeing more rapid adoption than maybe in New Jersey, somewhere else. And then what are the stories that you're hearing from agents that not only is it selling property, Jeff, but it must be making the phone ring when people see that when they're at home consuming content, because we all know the stats are clear that the moment you start thinking about selling, you start doing some research. And if you've got any sort of SEO whatsoever, they're going to come across one of your Matterport tours, and that has to change the game before they ever pick up the phone.
Yeah, you know, what I hear a lot of, and you know, it's interesting. To some, it may seem like this is an obvious way to attract buyers, and it certainly is. But to Kyle's point, I really think of Matterport slightly more, maybe 60-40%, as a listing closing tool. I think it is a knockdown killer closing tool. We work with the Altman brothers, who are on $1 Million Listing LA, and we have a video somewhere on Matterport you can find where they talk about exactly that, how they use it to close their presentations. It's like their cleanup hitter in baseball, like the guy that's going to drive in all the home runs. That's what they use time and again. And as from agent stories in terms of buyers, what I hear a lot of, and I don't know if this is Kyle's experience or not, but you know, when Matterport is out there, the quantity of showings sometimes goes down because you don't have the looky-loo showings. You're not calling the seller and say, hey, someone's coming at 3 o'clock, get the house cleaned up, get the kids out, we got someone coming at 3. That scramble's gone. But when people do come, they are a much more qualified buyer. That's what I've heard. I've heard that time and again from a lot of agents in the field.
That's been our experience, and once again, we have not implemented Matterport yet. That has definitely been our experience with video. Dave, if you were to say to your client at the listing presentation, hey, because of our marketing, guys, we're going to have less showings, and it's going to result in more offers, are you okay with that? There's not a seller that doesn't think that that's the best news they've ever heard as they scramble around to get the house ready for a showing. That's not quality.
As long as you explained it properly, and I can't see how they could object to that.
No, there's no objection to that. Yeah, it's one of those ones that it's getting the next thing. Now we have some questions coming in. Let's jump on them right now because they might lead to more questions. I do know the answer to this, but I will let Jeff answer it. Is Matterport now available in Canada?
Yeah, so Matterport is in 32 countries right now. At the moment, stay tuned, it's going to change in 2016. But at the moment, if you want a Matterport camera in Canada, we only ship to a U.S. destination, only U.S. addresses. So for our international customers, there's freight forwarding companies like myus.com where they will take the package in the U.S. destination and forward it to anywhere in the world. That's how we've gotten cameras all over the globe.
Perfect. Question about and let's get into it. Let's get into how the consumer actually interacts, because there's two questions here, Jeff, about the consumer and how they interact with the tour once it's filmed, and then Kyle, we'll go to you and talk about the actual the effort that goes into filming one of these. But right now, the tours are hosted with Matterport. Will that be the way it does moving forward, or will you be able to host Matterport on your own websites and all that sort of stuff down the road?
Well, you can do both today. So there's no plans to, rather the plan is to continue having Matterport host these files. They're very large, and the software that lets us display them easily is very complicated. And we host it all. Kyle made a mention of an update to some of our software that consumers can see. We are constantly updating our software. So we host it all so our clients can get the latest and greatest in the same time as everybody else. But in terms of hosting on a website, what we deliver when a model is completed are two things. One is a URL, just a link, like Kyle mentioned he can email out. And we also provide an embed code, which is just a little snippet of code that can be pasted onto a property details page, and you can consume the model from within the broker's or agent's webpage. You don't have to jump off and go to the
same thing as embedding a YouTube video, right?
Exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Now, a follow-up question to that about hosting and whatnot, where people are concerned, will they? Do you support Android OS, or is it just iOS right now?
So for consuming, we support all the devices. Matterport's consumed in browsers. So any web browser that has WebGL technology, which is just about every modern browser today, it can be consumed on any of those devices.
I think the question might be in the filming process.
Yeah, on the filming process, we only support Apple iPads for now for the capture process.
Okay, so there you go. You're going to have to
But you know what? Think about this. I could, I could charge more for. I could charge an extra $600 for the camera, $500 for the camera, and throw an iPad in there. If some people who are very anti-Apple, it's just a remote control for the camera. You don't have to live your life on this iPad. Throw it in the camera bag, and it's there. It's only a remote control for the camera. That's all.
So would it work on an iPad Mini?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kyle or Jeff, could either one of you guys just walk through, say, in a general way, the filming process itself? In other words, you get this camera out. I mean, how complicated is it? Just kind of what generally you have to do in a general way.
Kyle, go ahead and answer that, because you actually sent me a video on Facebook Messenger the other day while you were at a home filming Matterport. By the way, you got rid of your little goatee, which was awesome. I love that. I don't know why you cleaned up for the show, but go ahead and talk about the filming process, the time that it takes, the process of what it takes to do the tour.
So first of all, my mother made me get rid of this. I went down kicking and screaming, but she got what she wanted. So yeah, I shaved for this episode for you. I have a camera out right here, and so as he said, I don't have my iPad on me, but what essentially you're doing is you're setting up this camera about head level. So I try to go a little bit. Probably like a 5'8" to 5'10" person, I try to assume, depending. I will change that depending if it's a house that's much bigger and has tall ceilings and whatnot. But essentially, you're going to hit a button, and this is going to actually move automatically. So you're going to see this spin. It takes maybe 20 seconds to get a full read out of a 30. So it's going to do a 360-degree scan. And really, you just collect those together. I try to move every 5 feet or as many times as I think need to be covered. I think that the most. I remember I was on support one time early on with a Matterport guy, which was awesome, great. They called. I left a message. They called me right back. And there was kind of an art to it. It's gotten to the point where I haven't even had a problem in a while. I think it's just the software's gotten better, but. You really want to see how it flows through the house. So I go on the inside of a door and the outside of the door and some middle marking points in the room. I'll do more scans throughout a kitchen. So essentially each spot on the floor that you're doing, each floor that you're actually, each spot you're doing a scan on has a circle on the floor. And you can walk to each specific circle and then you can do a full 360-degree view from that spot. So it feels like you're walking through the home, but actually you're just moving from each spot where someone's actually made that target point and done a 360-degree scan. And the iPad actually feels out
video is photographs all stitched together in a sense.
Can you say that again?
Not really video. It's photographs all stitched together by the software to make it look like you're moving through the video.
Yeah, and in fact, Jeff, to Kyle, let's get back to you real quick. But Jeff, you said something very interesting. In the technology, that there is two aspects. There's the panoramic photo, and then there is software that gets you from one point to the other. So talk about what's in that technology.
Sure. So when you, because the camera both measures and photographs, the 3D sensors on the camera capture what's called and create something called 3D mesh, right? And 3D mesh is what you're actually looking at when you are looking at a Matterport model in a dollhouse view or in the floor plan view. And Kyle's correct. You are moving from scan point to scan point, but in between while you're moving, what you're seeing as you move is really 3D mesh. So you kind of go from panoramic photo through mesh to another panoramic photo in between.
It's a very cool experience. In fact, I've seen, I think, Kyle, what you did is you did like a screen capture video, and you controlled the movement and then turned what was a Matterport tour into a YouTube video. I think that's sort of what you did. So on a typical 2,000 square foot home, Kyle, what are we looking at as time to be there to scan a 2,000 square foot home?
I think that it takes me about 45 minutes per 1,000 square feet, and that's probably an average. I think that the bottom floor, the bottom level, takes more time, more scans in kitchen areas and a living room or something like that. Whereas once I get to the second floor, I might only do 1 or 2 in a bedroom because there isn't much to look at. So you can go into the bedroom and then a few scans in the bedroom and then move on. Whereas the lower levels are much more open and require a lot, probably twice as many scans. So It really depends, but I would say the best estimate would be 45 minutes per 1,000 square feet.
And once you're done the scan, Kyle, are you done, or then you have to go back to the office and spend another 4 hours in post-production?
You are done. That is it. You go home. You get onto a wireless, some type of wireless. You hit the button that says upload, and then Matterport will email you. Usually, I'd say it's usually under 12 hours, but I think 12 hours, would be something would be a good time frame. And then you need to mark out the spots on the floor. So you have a rough model. It doesn't have a starting point within the model. It doesn't have the new tours that they have. So you'll have to take a few pictures within the model, and the whole workshop area is great. He can describe the workshop for you. But you're essentially taking the pictures, and you can put them together so that there's actually a guided tour within that. So you do have to do a little bit of work, and then you have to plug in your information, or if you're doing it for someone, their information, their contact info, stuff like that. But really, it's not much more than just scanning.
Yeah, that's that. So it just sort of walks you through. You go scan to scan, you send it up, and then you're done, which is amazing, because I think when you look at the time put in, Dave, to filming, I'll go and spend an hour and a half creating content for a video tour, and then I'm coming home, and the editing process to get it golden is still another 2 hours worth of editing that goes along with that. But Jeff, this is a lot more, like you said before. Talk about the dollhouse model. This is more than photographs. There's infrared scanner technology in here, to a point where you said in the back end you could retroactively measure the opening for the fridge. So talk about the technology that actually goes into what's happening.
Sure. So here it's maybe hard to see because it's all black, but there's 9 sensors on this camera, and if I turn the camera sideways, you can kind of see that the camera shoots up, straight, and down at the same time. And at each one of those planes is like a camera and 3D sensors. So as it spins, it's measuring and photographing, capturing all that data. As Kyle said, this camera's pretty simple. There's just a power button on here. There's nothing. You don't have to know anything. And there's a motor built in and a Wi-Fi network built in, and all that data that gets captured gets sent to the iPad that we were talking about. That is the remote control. It captures all that data. On the iPad, it starts to align all the images. And as Kyle said, then you move on to the next space 5 to 8 feet away and repeat the process. When it all gets uploaded, my experience is probably a little faster than Kyle's. Maybe it's because I'm with Matterport, but 30 minutes to a couple hours typically to get the processing done. Maybe it's the time of day that we do it. But when you get that back, as he said, you get an email, and then you log into your My Matterport account, which is our portal account, and that's where you manage the inventory of models that you have. And you can do a lot of neat things. You can create still photographs from any model. So as you are in a home looking at a particular point of view for a living room, any view that you can create, you can hit a button and create a photograph there. So you can have this great view of the living room, a great view of the kitchen, a great view of the master, and then you can just drop them in a sequence. And as Kyle said, you hit play. When a consumer hits play, it takes you either transitioning like a slideshow from one scene to the next, or there's an option to actually walk you through the house to get from point A to point B to point C. And it becomes a very curated kind of experience. So as an agent, there are some people that just don't get how to use a 3D tour. So we created this this tour that anyone can use and just hit play. Everyone knows how to hit a play button.
Yeah.
And as you said, so in the workshop, there's a number of tools. And one of it is if I'm looking at the kitchen and I want to know how tall that fridge is, there's a measurement tool that I can click, create a line, drag a line, and go, boom, oh, that's 6'4". That's how tall the fridge is. Perfect. And you can do that. It's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate.
Dave, I see you, and this is what I love about you in this show. I see you just going, it just all kind of, it's all very, very, very interesting. It's like, you love this stuff, right?
Yeah, I do, actually. I mean, and then but you have to be careful because, there's always new technology. There's always something new, and if you jump on everything that comes along, you're never going to get, you'll never get to the point where you're using it effectively.
Yeah, it's what the thing is too as well is, and I put this out. I forget if I put this out on Remax Player where it was. I hypothetically I said I've got $5,000 to spend. Do I buy a DJI Phantom or do I buy a Matterport, a drone or a Matterport? And the reality is the drone isn't for every home. It's not for your townhouse. It's not for your condo. It's not for your entry level 3,000 square foot lot home. It's for the view property. But Matterport is for every single property you have. I don't, whether it's a $100,000 condo or an $800,000 two-story with a basement. Those are Langley prices, by the way. There's value in having this out there. There's certainly value, and Kyle, I've got a question for you that I don't know how you do it. How do you broach the subject of your client that says, I'm coming in with a Matterport camera, and they're like, yes, and I am going to do a 360 pan of every single, because it's going to make the dollhouse, of every single room, the laundry room, the closet, the bathroom. How do you get your client ready to have it show, there's always that one or two rooms that you don't want a 360 pan in. Is that a conversation that's ever been odd?
Yeah, and I have that conversation pretty frequently. And I'm probably pretty good at it because I do it for a lot of the agents in our office and stuff. So sometimes I'm meeting someone for the first time and telling them what I'm going to do to their house. So I think that, for the most part, I think that it has to be neat. The property has to be clean, more so than big, small, unusually shaped. It doesn't really have a whole lot of effect in the actual scan. It's going to look good. They all look the same. They all look exactly what the house looks like on the inside. So the best thing is just tell your seller, hey, can we get it clean like just this one time, and then we'll capture this moment for you.
And Michael,
to your point,
how about a 360 tour of the local brewery or the local fancy restaurant?
I'm doing a skate shop next week. That'll be cool. So yeah, you could do anything. I'm gonna do the fire station. I'm really excited about that one.
See, Gabe, this is where you and I and Kyle, because I know the videos Kyle's done, I know the community stuff he's done, that's why Kyle and I relate to each other. Your mind starts to go, what else can we be doing this for? How can we help maybe a local business showcase, their places? And let's get into it right now, because I think this is one of the questions I had for Jeff, and it's going to be an issue for other people. When it comes to buying real estate, it is as important, location, lot size, backyard, front yard, street appeal. What is it in Matterport that only allows us to capture the interior of a structure? And will that be changing down the road? Because the one thing I do notice when I see Matterport tours versus 360 tours or videos is we're not capturing the exterior of the property.
Yeah, sure. It's a common question we get asked a lot, and we're working on a solution around it. But for the moment, we don't officially support exterior shots of the home, simply for the reason that these infrared sensors that are on the camera here are greatly interfered with by direct sunlight. So if you are out there on a bright sunny day, it's the heat that's reflecting off of everything you're shooting that'll interfere with the functionality of the camera. Now, having said that, there's a ton of Matterport models that have stepped outside. It's typically during an overcast day or when the sun isn't directly beating down on the camera. I don't know if Kyle's done any or not, but I'm happy to probably share with you several examples of people who walk outside. Having said that, our product team is very aware of it, and we're hopefully going to have a solution in 2016.
Because I think that would be amazing to be able to then step out, walk, go around the pool, walk around the front garden. That's really, now we're talking about, a really crazy immersive experience. Especially then you can go down to the local park, the tennis courts and all that sort of stuff. Kyle, it looks like you had something to say there.
One of the ones that I do, and it's a little trick that I pull on the Matterport camera, is one of the great things to do is a deck. So you open the door. It's a beautiful sunny day, and you open the door. And then you'll go one right before you exit onto the deck, and then you can almost trick the camera. It'll get a little bit of the deck on the sensor, and then you just tell them that the railings are windows, and then you kind of go out there, and it'll give you a pretty decent scan sometimes. Again, it depends. Overcast day would be great. I used to do this all the time early on, and it used to work really well. And I think an update came out where it doesn't. I don't even do it as much anymore because I've had ones where all of a sudden you're getting bumped at you're trying to go out the door and it's kind of doing this to you and it won't let you go through. I think that was probably with something where they contain, like, from light going out windows and stuff to really put a crisp feel on the house. I don't know if that was my assumption. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, it's great. We know what it is now, Jeff. We're looking forward, and you said you said the VR. You saw the VR goggles. You can walk it around. You can put on the VR goggles. That's going to be an incredible experience. And someone asked you, is this practical? Is the idea of wearing VR practical? And you said no. It's more like a Buck Rogers experience. This will just give you an insight of where we are going, not only with this particular technology, but just immersive technology in general, as we see 3D video and whatnot being supported by Facebook and YouTube now. We're obviously going this way. There's a consumer-driven demand for this. So where do you guys in your brainstorming sessions, without giving us too much secret stuff, where do you see it going? What's down the road as people jump on Matterport? And will the changes be in software, or will the changes be in camera 2.0 down the road too as well?
That's great. So let me start with the VR side of things. So VR, for those that don't know, those are virtual reality headsets. They are typically made by a smartphone manufacturer. I've seen commercials for them on TV. Samsung is promoting a Gear VR that a Samsung smartphone will snap into the front of, and Matterport has an app that lets you consume these models that we're talking about through this kind of headset experience. And for those that have never done it, it's a unique experience, because as I wear the headset, I am in a home that is not where I physically am. But if I turn my head, I look up, I'm looking at the ceiling of the house. If I turn around, I'm looking behind me. And as Kyle mentioned earlier, you can move from point to point just by how you position your head. There's technology that makes that very simple, and it is it's an odd feeling to be walking but not moving, right? So you're kind of moving through the space. And for anyone who's listening, if you ever see Matterport at a trade show, come ask us and we'll gladly demonstrate it for you. So the question we talked about, Michael, was whether today having those Gear VR headsets at an office makes sense to have customers come in and try them on. It's fun. Maybe it'll help you in a listing presentation. It could be very effective. But I think the reality is, the way at least I think about it and Matterport thinks about it, is that 6, 12, 18, 24 months from now, as these consumer devices become more widespread, a broker can just send the models to their customers and say, here's 3 homes, consume them in your VR, and let's see which ones that you like. It's just another way to consume the same information you can get now on your phone or on your computer. It's just another way to kind of leverage the same models.
Okay, and then on that note, and it's okay if you don't want to talk about it, but where do you see Matterport going down the road? Will updates primarily be software updates, or will future cameras be necessary to push the envelope to where you guys want to go?
Yeah, there's no plans at the moment for a new camera. We do constantly upgrade the software, and there's really kind of 3 phases of software. There's the camera software that sits on here. There's the capture application that's on the iPad, and then there's what you consume, right? So the player, if you will. And those are constantly getting updated, right? So if Kyle has kept up, so the way the camera software gets updated, it'll download to the iPad, and the next time the iPad connects to the camera is going to get updated. So Kyle, who bought his camera last March, ostensibly has the same software as the cameras that are rolling off the line today. And that's another reason why Matterport hosts everything, so everyone can have the latest and greatest.
Perfect.
Brian, just as a quick question about, you've got this technology, you're using it with your listings, and rather than word of mouth, what are you doing from a marketing perspective to let the public know, other than, again, word of mouth, you did it for one guy, he sees it, the next guy does it. What kind of marketing is done on the consumer level to get more listings because you have this technology?
So, what are you asking about Matterport's efforts, or the efforts of folks like Kyle?
You're asking Kyle.
Kyle, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So obviously the big ones are Facebook advertising. If you're just trying to push it from an advertisement, we put an ad in the paper for our brokerage, and we said, hey, we have this technology, because we wanted everyone to know that we are that brokerage. So that was good. That was a print ad. I just took some snapshots of 3D of the dollhouse views and some other things that are the consumer would want to look into. Oh, what is that? Because you don't really know. You see it, and it kind of makes sense to you, but it kind of provokes something in you to want to see more of it too. At Facebook, I'll do a number of different things. I will do a just listed or a just sold on Facebook, and I'll do even a carousel ad. So here's a bunch of pictures. If you click on one of them, it'll bring you into the doll. It'll bring you into the Matterport model. One click, even if it's not even a picture of the model itself. It's a picture of the interior that you had a professional camera take, and then you click that, you're in the model. I'll do that with all 5 houses. I'll do a carousel ad with 5 recently sold properties that all have 3D models, and I'll bring them to a web page that I have all 5 of those models embedded onto one single web page. I'll put what it's sold for, and I'll put our contact information. Hey, you want a property, sold like one of these, check out one. So you're literally looking at which 5 properties sold, and that's cool. You could even do that on a carousel ad so that if you clicked on one of the properties, it would bring you into that model. So you wouldn't even have to do the one web page thing like I did where you're putting all 5 of them. You can actually, a carousel ad will allow you to put an individual link to each individual picture. So you could have, depending on what picture they click on, they could jump into that model. So that's pretty cool. There's tons of stuff you can do. I mentioned Instagram ads. The sky's the limit.
I mean, it's very, very similar outside the native search that YouTube provides you. Same thing of distributing your video content, I would imagine. It's now that you've got this content getting out there shared. I mean, for us, we're allowed to link virtual tour links in our MLS data sheets, right? We are allowed to do that. So, our virtual tours that aren't in like Matterport right now, that'd be a great way to people sort of get immersive. Then they realize Michael's doing this. That's the sort of thing that I want to as well. Jeff, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, because we've seen 360 tours, we've seen videos, how accurate, I get this when I'm out showing houses, people say, oh, the photos looked way better than the house actually looks. And I always say to people, what are we supposed to take? Are we supposed to take bad photos? We want you to come here. But how accurate is the experience online to what the consumer actually sees when it comes to dimensions, when it comes to sort of layout? How accurate is it?
I think it's pretty accurate. I don't think you get that kind of wide-angle distortion. I've been in this industry for a while, and often real estate photographers will try and capture 3 walls in a room to kind of illustrate the room, but to do that, you often have to have wide-angle lenses, which does cause some distortion. Yep. I've had experiences myself where I booked hotel rooms online, and when I get there, they're not nearly as big as they looked when I ordered them online. But with Matterport, what I hear and what I experience is that it's really much truer to form. You don't have that same kind of distortion.
Kyle.
My favorite part of the Matterport camera is, and this is amazing, especially from doing some film stuff too. This camera will look out any window. It does not get exposure from sun. It's like incredible. The actual inside and interior is the most realistic that it could possibly be. It's so realistic, from light to depth to all of that. But also, if you put it up against a window, you're not going to get sunlight blowing out that window. You can see for miles out of that window. If you have a beach property, a property on a golf course, a property with a good view, and you put this 3D camera and scan it in front of a window, that person can stand at the window and look out the window of the property and see anything that they'd want to see. That if it's cloudy and raining, you're going to see that it's cloudy and raining. If it's beautiful and sunny, you'll see that it's beautiful and sunny. Same goes with the inside of the property.
Yeah. So I mean that's nice. It almost gives you that HDR feel of not having the windows blown out, and that's an obstacle when it comes to video. You can get around that in photographs, but when it comes to video, I know when I'm filming in, I get to either choose the cabinets to be the right color and not see out the window, or see out the window and not be able to see the kitchen. So that's obviously a great asset too as well, especially when you get into these view properties and take a look at that.
Michael, just to your point, it's not HDR like, it is HDR.
It is HDR.
We take 7 exposures of every shot the camera takes is 7 exposures, and then optimized to give the kind of experience that Kyle just talked about.
And I feel like sometimes on the show we talk overheads. HDR is the process of taking more than one photo at different exposure, different brightness, and putting them together and sort of picking a middle of each. So
Yeah, it's
that's
optimized
what
for
HDR
exposure.
is. Just to explain what people do. So it's taking, when I do my HDR photos, I'm taking 3, Matterport's taking 7. Okay. Already an hour into the show, and we're just scratching the surface of the opportunities that are out there. Kyle, I know. Let's talk to everyone who's not in your marketplace. Let's pretend no one in your marketplace is listening. What is the reason why an agent, a Remax agent or any other agent, needs to be making the phone call to Matterport right now and putting this into the business? Remember, no one in your marketplace is listening, so you're okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've touched on all the different reasons.
Yeah.
You know, being the early adopter, all of the advertisements. So one of the things is like, if you're thinking about advertising, so say you were going to advertise on Instagram, say, which isn't huge right now. I wouldn't strongly recommend it, but you can do it. And if you were to do it, people love Instagram, right? So if you put out an ad that sucks, people are going to be like, this person sucks. They're like taking up space in my cherished Instagram. Matterport doesn't suck. If you have if you put a Matterport ad out there, they like it, So that's the thing. It's like you can spend time putting beautiful ads together, but it's like, what are you advertising? Well, Matterport gives you that vehicle to do amazing advertising.
And I also think the opportunity with video now on Twitter to put a little 15-second, put that same video out on Twitter. You have opportunities there. I mean, we want these stream-stopping advertising, and one of the issues, I had a meeting with a great agent yesterday, and we started talking about Facebook, dark post Facebook ads. The question isn't, is Facebook advertising awesome or not? It's awesome. The issue is, do you have some valuable content to create an ad around? And if you don't, then it doesn't matter about advertising. You need to have show-stopping content, and maybe that's your takeaway more than anything, Kyle, is it permits you to have something that makes people stop and pay attention, and that's the basis of great marketing.
And the same goes to a website. You can't build a website without content either, or anything that you're doing.
Yeah. Jeff,
you could also take this, because of how unique it is, and because it's totally unique. You could use other advertising medias that you stopped using before because everybody was doing it and you weren't getting any results outside of search. If you put some kind of a print ad together that explained this, people would it would gain attention. It really would. It's a little bit of a game changer in a way for me.
Well, I mean, it's one of those ones too as well, Dave. I think as agents, and I've said this over and over again, we have to acknowledge when we see something cool that makes us sort of, oh, that's cool, realize that a consumer also feels that way. And the very first time I saw Matterport, I went, whoa. I mean, it's just like, it was hard to get your head around, and then when you realize that technology would do it for you, and that's really where we're going with great technology. Great technology moving forward is user-friendly. It can't be this really complicated process. And when Kyle says I stand into a room and it spins around for 20 seconds, I move the tripod to the next location, and then I'm done. That's interesting to me because I can hire a 17-year-old kid to go out and shoot all my listings, and I can go out and sell real estate. You don't need a PhD in photography to do this. And the other thing too as well is you want to pay for the camera. And Kyle said this to me. Just go get a 17-year-old kid, have him go shoot some Matterports for your buddy in the next county over who's not competition. Have him pay $300 a tour, and you have the camera paid for in a heartbeat. I mean, that's really an option too as well. Is if the technology is that easy, it seems like it's something we should all be doing, and we all won't be doing it because some people will see the light.
But that's okay, Michael. That's okay.
Some feel the heat.
That's okay.
So I know that. I know. Jeff, any parting words for our audience? And I know that we'll have obviously a ton of people watch us on replay and listen to the podcast, and they'll reach out to you. But anything that you think that we didn't really touch on, an hour goes by so quickly that the audience should know about Matterport and technology.
Yeah, it really does go quickly, and your closing comments were ones that I often make myself. You don't need to know anything about photography. This is really, if you need a finger, a face, and a pulse, and you're good to go. There's not much more you need to make Matterport work. And we always encourage agents that you don't need to hire a photographer if you want to incorporate it into your practice, you can hire someone part-time. It could be a marketing admin. It could be a high school or college kid. I was at the Inman conference in New York last January, and a broker said, I offered Matterport on every one of my listings until September. I said, why'd you stop in September? He says, because the kid went back to college, right? So you don't need to be, this is not complicated stuff. It can take some time, so that's where you can leverage, the time value of money, have some kid do it, pay him 20, 15 bucks an hour, what have you, if you have a scan done for 30 bucks. Super simple.
Jeff, will you be at R4 in February?
I think I will. Yeah, I will be.
Okay. Awesome. We'll come see you in February, and I'll put on the VR glasses. Kyle, dude, thanks so much for coming on the show. Hey, are you going back out to R4 this year? You were there last year?
Yeah, I'll be in Inman in New York and R4 in March, whatever that is.
Perfect.
Can I add one quick thing for this one?
Yeah.
Because I want to touch on your, video is obviously something I want to just briefly touch on too. There's definitely an art to doing the scans. I don't want someone to think that you can just walk into each room and do a scan. One thing, you got to have a good tripod. It has to be level, or else it kind of will be crooked. If you go through and do these little video tours that they allow you to do and picking a picture, there's kind of an art in coming into a room and knowing where to put the camera so that you're getting the best flow through the house, and spots that you could actually get a good camera shot that's going to be presentable. Along with other things like that, like size of rooms and everything like that. There is somewhat of an art to it. It's not the easiest thing, but it's definitely not video art. Anyone, give it 2 years, right, and everyone will be doing this, Matterport thing or whatever else it is. Or if every agent is doing it, you'll get lost. But with something like video, where you are showing off your personality and some creativity towards it, that will go just as far as doing, unless you're an early adapter on this Matterport thing. So I just want to throw that out there for people that, not to get discouraged that there's this big Matterport thing out there now. Video can be just as effective in gaining you listings as well.
I absolutely agree. What I don't see this, I don't think it's ever a replacement for personality. I don't think it is. I think what it does is it puts the 360 tour out of being meaningful. I mean, the 360 tour has been around for 10 years. This is a dramatically different experience. It's phenomenal. Kyle, how do people get a hold of you? And you know what? What's the name of the new company too as well? What's the name of the new? And give us plug all that stuff.
My company's Manual Media. It's kind of more of a passion project. In anything, whether you're doing all this marketing, I do all kinds of marketing, right? There's nothing that's going to get you more listings or more real estate business than just being a realtor and going out there and talking. But I do a lot of fun stuff, not just real estate related on Manual Media. I do time lapses of the day now and a lot of other fun stuff around the community. I have a podcast coming soon. So I do a lot of fun stuff with that. My name's pretty unique, so if you Google me, you'll probably be able to find some of the stuff that I'm doing. Thank you for having me on, Mike. It's always good
Kyle, you're the best. I appreciate that. Jeff, how do people get a hold of you, get a hold of Matterport, see the tours, buy the camera, all that good stuff?
Sure. I would suggest people go to realestate.matterport.com to get an overview and kind of play with some models, and to reach me directly, simple, jeff@matterport.com.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you so much, Kyle. We're just going to wrap up the show. Dave, end of season number 3. This is our last show of the year. End of season 3. Dave, we didn't get to say goodbye at the end of season number 2. I think we had another episode scheduled and we didn't get to it. But another great year of doing this. It's been not as many episodes because it's been a busy season. But we are 3 episodes away from episode 100, and that is already being put together. That's going to be a crazy, fun show. And then we'll be in R4 again. That's the plan, to do another live show from R4. Once again, Dave, awesome experience with you. It was great to see you out in New Jersey. This is one of my favorite things to do every week is spend an hour with you, and I really appreciate, once again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, this has been a crazy, fun, unexpected adventure doing this with you, Dave, and it's been phenomenal.
Same here, and like I've said before, my business wouldn't be where it is without me having contact with all these people that are doing all these crazy cutting-edge things. And my takeaway for today is this is another step in the ladder of all this technology and changes that are going on, and everybody better Step up, because it's happening faster and faster and faster.
It's getting exciting. Hey, I know we're 5 minutes over, Dave, but your ringtone was a home run call from the New York Mets. What was your ringtone there?
That ringtone? No, that was Jimi Hendrix.
Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Anyway, Cutcliffe, thank you so much. Jeff Harris, I appreciate it so much. Matterport's phenomenal. I encourage you guys all to check it out. Jeff, I'll cross paths with you February 29th at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Dave, thank you so much. It'd been fantastic. Every one of our viewers, all across North America and Europe, I guess Australia too as well, or all around the world, have a very relaxing, family-balanced holidays. Be safe. Enjoy your time off. If you do get time off, you all work so hard, and Dave will tell you, you owe it to your clients to enjoy your time off so you can hit the ground running. 2016 is going to be a phenomenal year in the real estate business. Thank you all for all the support you guys have given us over the last 3 years. We really, really appreciate it. All your support allows us to reach out to awesome guests like we have today. And as Melanie Gallia of Remax Fort Memorial wants us to end, if you have any referrals heading out to the East Coast of the United States, get a hold of Dave. He'll put you in the hands of the right Remax agent. Any referrals coming out to the West Coast of Canada, get a hold of me. I'll put you in the right hands of the right Remax agent. And as Melanie Gallia of Remax Fort Memorial wants us to end every show, please tell 5 other agents about Mobile Agent TV. Our audience grows each week, allows us to reach out to amazing people, amazing technologies like Matterport that will donate an hour of their time. We appreciate it. Thank you all. Have a great Christmas, great holidays, and we'll see you in 2016.